By now, I think you've probably heard enough of me verbalizing my way through a test expression, right? With the for statement, with the while statement. By now, you are sick of me playing. Let's count the fingers and thumbs on our iterations through a loop, and you just got to deal with it one more time, a little bit here, and that's with the do while loop. Now, the do while is a little bit different than our previous two loop mechanisms. The for loop and the while loop tested at the top of the expression. They are what are known as a pre-test loop. So the condition has to be true in order for us to enter into the expression. A do while loop is a little bit different. It starts on page 246 and it is 5.5, the do while loop. The do while loop is a post test expression. So what happens is we enter into our loop first, and then we check against a condition before we continue. So a while loop may never execute. You might not set it up that a condition is needed to enter the while loop. As a matter of fact, in our immediately previous, that's the word I'm looking for, immediately previous example, you only entered into the while loop if the user entered an incorrect number. So that means if the user was able to read the directions, follow the directions, and enter a number between 1 and 100 the first time, we do not need to enter the while loop. With a do while loop, you do always enter into the while or the do while loop. So this is a little bit different, whereas we needed a priming read for our while loop. We had to set up the condition first in order for us to enter into the loop. Here with the do while, know that it's going to execute one time. So we can take all of that priming stuff and cram it inside of our looping statement. So that way we know it's going to execute once. If I'm going to check for your password, for your username and password, how many times do you have to enter that before it's correct? At least once, right? So entering a username and password is a great example of a do while loop because I need those pieces of data before I can proceed. Why not put it all inside here of my loop? So let me scroll down here. We'll just walk through. This is program 5-7. This is on page 248. And what we're asking for here is for 3 scores. We want the user to enter. We're going to check and return the average of those. And we have this yes or no character. We're going to expect to take a Y or take an N for the input to continue. So here on line number 12, I'll just scroll this up so we can see it a little bit better and we can work with the output. Line number 12, we have our statements beginning, do. So when C++ in normal flow comes down, 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 and we finally hit number 12, do. And the end of this statement block is all the way down on line number 25, where we have the while. Now, before we get into our do while loop, look at the rest of line 25. While again equals capital Y. So we're checking against that character. Do you want to continue? Yes for uppercase Y. And or again equals lowercase y. So the only reason we would continue with this loop is if the user enters the uppercase char for y or the lowercase char for y. Anything else we assume is no, and we leave the loop. So we come on down, through normal flow encounter line number 12, and we enter into our do while loop. You'll notice again we have the rest of that statement block there on line number 13, and it continues on to line number 25. So I'm going to ask the user for those 3 scores. Now remember, This is a little bit of lazy textbook programming here. On line number 15 and 16, we're going to ask the user to enter in 3 scores, and they do it with the space. That's terrible, lazy programming. Remember to do this: score 1, ask again for score 2, ask again for score 3. That's better design. So we calculate our average here by taking those, adding up our 3 scores, dividing by 3, and we output what the average is. Now we ask the user, do you want to continue? They enter a character. Mind you, this character can be uppercase Y, this character can be lowercase y, this character can be the uppercase N, this character can be the lowercase n. It could be Q, it could be 4, it could be tilde. It really doesn't matter. The only 2 things we're looking for in order to continue this expression are the uppercase Y or the lowercase y. So let's say, for example, on line number 24, the first time we're going through this loop, that the user enters the uppercase Y. So now we get down to line number 25, and our evaluation on this expression has to begin. While, again, equals equals. So remember, we're looking for a comparison operator here, not for an assignment. That's why we have the 2 equals. So I entered as the user on line number 24 the uppercase Y. And as a matter of fact, the first part of my OR statement evaluates as true. But then we do check, is my character the lowercase y? No, but because I entered uppercase Y, this whole evaluation, or the whole expression rather, is evaluated as true. So we proceed back up inside of our loop statement. So the user is asked to enter again 3 scores. The user enters again 3 scores. We take the average and we display the average. Now we ask if the user wants to continue. This time I'll say lowercase n. So now we get to line number 25, and that expression has to be evaluated. Is again the uppercase Y? No, I entered lowercase n. We check the OR side of that. Is again the lowercase y? No, I entered the lowercase n. So that means I get to leave my loop. Once I leave the loop, the normal flow takes back over. Line number 26 is the next line outside of my looping statement. So that's where we end up. Line number 26, return 0. I'm done with my program. So notice the big fundamental change that happens here. When the compiler, when runtime, when the linker, as we're going through, when we encounter line number 20, the do while loop, I enter into that loop irrespective of any condition that I set up beforehand. I enter into this. So an action will be undertaken. So just think about that. Like if we develop an algorithm for deleting of records, that deletion is a terrible idea for do while, because you will delete something in order for that expression to execute, to be able to leave that expression. It demands a deletion. That is an issue. A while statement there is fine. While choice equals y, uppercase, while choice equals lowercase y. Yes, I do want to delete stuff. Now I can start deleting records. So there's a time and a place for each one of these. The password program from 4.1, that actually is a great use of the do while loop, because you need to enter at least one username and at least one password in order to be able to check those things. A delete, on the other hand, not good, because you might not need to delete a record, but you're going to end up doing it if you have this piece of logic with the do while.